Hi, everyone. This is Shri here at Emerald. We'd love to welcome you to our weekly Twingate video show. Um, I figured I'd kick off um, by asking Emerald a little bit more about where we see demand today for Twingate from our customers. What are the use cases they're focused on? And maybe we can dive into those a little bit. So, Emerald, yeah, where do you see the most demand usually from our customers or prospective customers?
The greatest demand is absolutely in cloud. A lot of customers moving to cloud from on-prem. They need hybrid architectures, etc., or they're fully moving things over. And what we see is, more than half of them are picking AWS. It is the dominant player in the market, and so therefore there's a lot of demand for accessing resources within AWS. And in the on-prem world, that was easy. When you're in the cloud, that's a bit harder.
Can you speak to how Twingate helps solve customer problems versus AWS's existing solutions?
Yes, certainly. There's two main solutions that users adopt when they're doing AWS. The first one is a bastion host, so you'll set up SSH and then you'll proxy from that SSH to your other endpoints. It's a very common solution. Everyone understands it. It is difficult to set up, and there are a lot of pain points that come along with it, especially as you start to scale from a small team to a larger team. The other common use case is AWS VPN. Obviously, if you're provisioning things in AWS, then the next logical step is to try out their own VPN product. And we then see a lot of customers hitting friction with that tooling. Also, it is not a great solution if you have to manage multiple VPCs within AWS, or if you're again on hybrid architecture where you've got some stuff in Google or Azure as well as AWS. You find developers constantly having to switch between VPN accounts, and they cannot be logged in sometimes to multiple accounts at the same time, which all introduces like productivity issues as far as DevOps and developer teams are concerned.
Okay, amazing. That's good to know. And so I think what would be helpful is maybe we take Twingate for a spin and show how easy it is to set up on AWS.
Absolutely. Let me just share my screen. Here's my EC2 management console in AWS. I've got a couple of connectors already deployed. So these are my Twingate connectors. I'll come back to those, how I did that, etc. But they're T3A micros. They're fairly cheap. And it's worth pointing out that you can also deploy Twingate connectors inside Amazon Container Services, ECS. The difference is depending on what your teams are comfortable with, right? So I'm most comfortable with an EC2 instance that I can SSH into. So the question is, how do I create these EC2 instances in the first place? Well, if I flip over to this tab where I've got my Twingate admin console, you can see this as soon as you sign up to Twingate. You can click on here and you can add a remote network. You can see our demo environment. And within there, we can see our connectors. Go into any connector, and I would just choose AWS. I would generate a couple of tokens, and I would select the AWS region and paste in the subnet ID that I want to deploy into. All of that prepares a little bash script. You can also get PowerShell if you're a Windows user. And this you can either run anywhere that you've got the AWS CLI installed, or if you don't have AWS CLI, you can paste it straight into AWS Cloud Shell. Essentially, what the script is doing is setting some tokens that will allow the connectors to register themselves with Twingate. It looks up the AMI ID of the Twingate connector, and it runs an instance in EC2 with those two bits of information. So once I've executed that, these connectors come up. And as soon as they come up, the lights will turn green. So if I just go back to the ones we're looking at, here's our accomplished goldfish connector. You can see that the connection light is green. As soon as it's switched on, I can start adding resources in. Actually, the first resources that I added was the IP of the connector host. So this is interesting because I've deployed this connector behind the NAT gateway, and it does not have a public IP address. If I go to that, you can see there's no public IP on either of these. I've just got a private IP. So the first thing is, how do I SSH in to something that has no inbound access? Well, given that it's running Twingate's connector, I've just been able to do add resource, and put in the private IP of that connector. As soon as I've done that, I can log into Twingate. You can see I'm logged in. I can see all my resources here, and I can just go over to my terminal and SSH straight in. Okay. So this way, I don't need to proxy anything. I don't need to change my workflow. And whether it's SSH or RDP or Kubernetes cluster, I can access all the resources the same. And I've done all of this without having to expose anything to the public internet.
That's awesome. Okay, amazing. And I guess if we take a step back and we've kind of addressed two of the alternate solutions that Twingate can replace, obviously the Bastion server and a typical AWS client VPN. Can you talk a little bit more about why Twingate, like why it's such a powerful alternative, both from a security and a speed network traffic standpoint? We'd love to just to better understand the key differentiators of Twingate.
Yeah, so this goes into, how suitable is Twingate for larger scale production environments and environments where you're scaling, both in terms of a business that has more or operational requirements as well as technical requirements. So the first thing we do is we allow you to deploy multiple connectors, and that allows for a load balanced and redundant connection into your remote networks, into your VPCs. This is critical because, with a Bastion host, if it goes down, suddenly you've lost access to everything, and there could be, a difficult process to get that back. You may have to spin up a new virtual machine, etc. With Twingate, as long as you deploy a couple of connectors as a minimum, then if something happens to one of them, the other one can take over. If you want to add a bit more redundancy, we suggest putting them in different availability zones, and then you're protected or insulated from some AWS issues that could arise. And that means that Twingate is something that you can rely on day one, right? And the scalability for access is built in on day one. And then if we step back from that, what are these connectors doing? They don't have any inbound firewall rules. Nothing can connect to them. Actually, they establish a reverse tunnel back to Twingate. And over that tunnel, all of these resources can be accessed according to which user groups are allowed on these resources. So just to show you, if I go into this connector host resource, only 5 users are allowed access to this. Okay. So if I'm not one of these 5 users, I won't be able to SSH in. Once I've got these resources set up, it takes only a few minutes. What you see is a peer-to-peer connection established between the client, which is my device, and the resource, which is going to be the connector. So if you're stepping back and looking at, say, multi-cloud architectures or architectures where you're running multiple VPCs, then you can deploy these connectors in each location, on-prem, cloud, etc. And from one Twingate login, you can access everything that you have been granted access to.
Emerald, thank you for that information today. Super helpful. And we hope to see everyone next week.
Great. Thank you very much, Sri.